G'day,
Cheers.
guys, and welcome back to the Supercoach Swordplay podcast. You're on with the whole crew. We've got our Swordplay beanies on. Our episode of Season 4, Episode 17, and we've just rolled in. We've just started recording, and the big news has dropped. Isaac Heeney has failed in his chances to get off. He was going to serve a 1-week suspension this week, and that's the least of the carnage we'll be looking forward to this week. I'll tell you what, boys. It's good to have you back on, Dia. We did miss you last week. Spilsy and I, sort of the newbies on the block, had to take control of the podcast. But in your absence, Dia, we've got to $250 with the Good Friday appeal, and we've officially, I don't know if we want to say this, but we've sold out of our first lot of beanies. We're going to get the new lot is coming in pronto, so keep those orders coming in. We'll get the beanies off to you, but truly appreciate all the support that you guys have shown towards all of us, especially with the Good Friday appeal here, as well as the kind comments and messages which you've left for us. On that note, next week's going to be a really important podcast. It means a lot to us. We'll have our second annual community appreciation podcast, so stay tuned for that. We got some legends lined up to come on, and they're regulars on the channel, so you should be pretty well accustomed to them. In the meantime, boys, how are we doing? We're doing well, apart from the Supercoach injury perspective. D, I heard you had your own injury on the weekend.
Yeah, I might leave further detail about that to my rant, Janath. I'm actually going to rant about this particular thing very quickly. But look, apart from that, mate, going all right on school holidays. So got another few days before we got term 3 ahead of us. So hopefully I can rest up, have some nice Supercoach luck on the weekend, and set me up for a nice big term, mate. But yes, going well. The Lions managed to get past the Crows, which was nice. So facing West Coast this week, we are facing them at the absolute worst time of the season. Bloody, they sack Simo, and we have to go out and play these buggers. So it's a danger game for us this week. A danger game. But Spilsy, your Essendon boys, look at the goods at the moment, mate.
Yeah, they got it done. Was not expecting that, by the way. Yeah, Collingwood, the comeback kings. I was very nervous about 3 minutes ago. They just looked the goods, but I don't know. I don't know if they're worse than they were last year. I feel like other sides around them have caught up to their game, and they're sort of on par with everybody else. So yeah, we got it done. We finally beat a side that was sort of in the finals, really. We've been playing teams when they're at their absolute worst. So yeah, been a good win for us. So yeah, we look forward to Melbourne on Saturday night. But Supercoach, yeah, really good. We'll get into that later on. Had a bye in football, so not a whole lot to talk about there. But yeah, real cruisy weekend with the lads, which was good. But yeah, very happy about the Bombers. They're
well, I'm
doing
glad
good
at least your team's won. My team had I don't know what that game was. We looked like we were about to beat them by 100. Then they looked like they were going to beat us by 100. And then at the end of the game, it was a 12-point game. If you looked at the start and the finish, you'd be close game. But the momentum swings in that game was just ridiculous.
Unreal. Yeah.
But yeah, so thoroughly deserved win for the Giants. And it was always going to be a danger game at Giant Stadium. Like, when they are at their best, they're one of the best teams. And I think they just unlocked that. They just got rid of that inner fear amongst them. So
the tsunami's back.
Yeah. We'll get into our Supercoach, but just very quickly, I just want to give a quick shout out to our latest member of the Swordplay Wall of Fame. DR, if you just want to shine some light.
Yes, a big shout out to Paula. So Paula's partner of Daz Hall, who's been a regular member of this channel since basically it started. So big shout out to you, Paula. Yep. Big shout out to you, Daz. Thank you very much for the support. And I know that Daz is looking forward to wearing this when he goes on a run in the coming days as well. So shout out to you too. Thank you very much for your support. Wonderful humans as well. So thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated.
And on that note, DR, take it away.
Well, we did touch on the fact that we did have a bit of exciting news to announce last week, and that's the fact that we do have a new sponsor of the podcast. So very exciting news, boys, and it is Speedy Teas. So super excited to team up with Speedy Teas. And I tell you what, guys, what a business to team up with. A family-owned and run business, just a small business from Kilmore. So very, very close to Assumption College is Kilmore. We know what greats Assumption College have brought out, you know, Shane Crawford, Billy Brownless, you know, the great Tom Lonigan, DR.
Supercoach from DR.
Yeah,
Oh.
just some amazing.
He couldn't help himself,
personalities.
Janath. He beat me to it.
But I'll tell you what, this is a place that you do want to go to. They are based obviously in Victoria, but they will do all of your custom needs. So you're talking t-shirts, whatever you need done, they will do. And you can see here, we've got the 100 Days of School special on for $20. You can get a range of different designs here. Remember, I used to be a prep teacher, boys. Used to be a big part of the 100 Days of School. You know, the string necklace, 100 Fruit Loops around it, collecting 100 pieces of Lego, the old 100-day sunglasses as well. So get yourself a t-shirt from Speedy Tees for your little one's 100 Day of School, and will be a very, very special occasion, boys. But yeah, really excited to team up with Speedy Tees, Taylor and the crew. Make sure that you visit speedytees.com.au. So yeah, thank you again, guys, and great to have you on board.
And what
Great
this
stuff.
means
Love
is that anyone that's bought a t-shirt or a hoodie or a notebook or a stubby holder, they'll be with you pronto. We truly do promise you on that. Just very quickly, Spills, I'm not sure if this may not be the right time, but I feel like when DR put that Assumption College bit in it, you know, in the Sunday Footy show when they got the inserter alert with Matty Lloyd always taking.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
I reckon we need to get the big inserter alert here. DR's just slid himself right in there amongst the greats. AFL.
I was going to do it for him, but
we're talking Supercoach. Yeah, you're truly in the Hall of Fame there, DR. So
Thank you very much.
We'll let it slide. We'll let it slide, mate. Let's go on to our round reviews then. We'll kick us off here, Spills. You're top of the pod. Both of you boys have hit the 2,500 mark. And yeah, just take it away, Spills. You're coming with the charge here.
Been such a roller coaster, boys. I could have swore I was top of the pod 2 weeks ago, and then bottom of the pod last week, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, no, had a really good week, and this score. Keep in mind that I did have the captain on Sarong for an 84. So, I suppose what could have been. The rest of the side did really good. Simkin dished out a great one. The only real letdown was Matty Rao. We'll talk about him later on. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, not happy with Matt Rao. Very, very sad. He's letting me down every single week. But yeah, 17 out of 17 league wins. We're back into, I think it's a season high rank so far. We basically went down 1.5 last week, up 1.4 this week. So around the mark. So going pretty well. Do have some trade plans that involve Matt Rao. Whether I go through with them or not is another thing. As you can see there, 1 out of 1 trades available, boys. Playing super risky. But if you're going to play risky, you got to do it right and play really risky and trade in a bloke who's notoriously injury prone. But we're going to talk about that later as well. But yeah, boys, absolutely stoked with how things are going. Just going to ride it out until we crash and burn. Hopefully avoid most of the carnage. There's so much carnage, boys, in there. What's going on here? We'll chat on it.
We'll dissect everything, Spillsy, but it's not easy.
But yeah, this week. No, it's a difficult week. But DR just got the chockies over you, mate. I think the score was well set on. I reckon maybe Saturday night because we didn't have any unique players. But not far behind me, mate. You're very stiff. Captain Gawn obviously got subbed out. If you played for another 5 minutes, you've had me on toast. So talk us through your week, mate. How did you go?
Yeah, well, not too bad, mate. It's a nice round number, isn't it? 2,500. I don't think there's too many weeks where you can play with a 2,500. But for me, mate, it was all about the ceilings this week. You know, we saw some of the best really come through. So you got Sheasel down back. How consistent is this, man? We were worried slightly for the first couple of weeks when he transferred into the midfield full time, but look what the man's doing now, damaging in the forward half as well when he spends time up there. So 141 from him was brilliant. Big Chocky Neal, 179 Spills. How good is it?
Forgot to touch on him, DR. But yeah, unbelievable. Crazy. He's a
Did you
bad
even
man.
see the bloke took like a contested intercept mark in the 50
Crazy.
and got a goal? It was just, he did everything. There's nothing that Lockie Neal didn't do that game. And we saw his ceiling with the 179, which was brilliant. Butters got subbed and still punched out a 159. Probably would have got
It's
past
crazy.
Lockie if he didn't get subbed out. I was
He
complaining.
played 77 minutes.
Oh, it's what could have been, Janath. What could have been with this score? We're
On
still not complaining,
230.
though, right? We don't complain. But Connor Ozee, now I was complaining about this a week before. DR didn't trust his gut, blah, blah, blah. I'm pretty happy I didn't when Connor Ozee comes out and bangs out a 168, another ceiling score. And I tell you what, may make a little bit of a fool of myself here, but shout out to this great man. It may remind you of old Ray from Channel 9 back in the day on A Current Affair, but just a little ode to this great man. Ho, 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 ho. Yeah, I'm talking about Spills. What am I talking about? All right, now, all right. I need to let you in on something here, Janath, right? Spills has just let me down, Mass. We said pre-podcast, right? I'm like, I'm going to talk about Dogger. I'm going to go nuts with Spills is like, oh, I'm going to go in there. Oh. That was at best a Chihuahua type.
Like, I need another one. Give me a pit bull.
You just
give us a pit bull, Philsy.
I've gone with the big.
You've got me at the worst time. I've gone to clear my throat, have a drink, and you've just dropped on. Oh, I need to unmute here, and then you're off to the races by then. So we get that. That's fun for the that's fun for the highlights reel. But yeah, wasn't expecting it. I completely forgot.
But there we go. But on that note, Dogger was a bit of a hero.
To your point, DR, Dogger huge. Like that's a big advantage that we have in the comp because a lot of sides sort of. Yeah. I think their hands are tied a little bit. If you don't have Dogger, would you have to trade Max Gordon? I mean, he could be out for 1 week. He could be out for 3. So what do you sort of do there? It's a tough one, isn't it? But luckily with Dogger, you can you can flip him.
Get a bit of dog
really rub it in deep, mate. Yeah.
Sorry, sorry, you didn't have Dog. I forgot you didn't have Dogger for a sec there, Janath. My bad, mate.
Oh, the ultimate troll. Well, Janath, tell us about your carnage for the week, mate. What's going on, buddy?
Oh my goodness, 24-11. You know, I'm just gonna go straight up and give my MVP back-to-back weeks, 140s from this bloke. There's not many weeks where. And it brings us back a couple of weeks when we were having the Lockie Neal discussion and you boys were going on about me going Josh Dunkley because I didn't want the tag risk. And then here he is, Lockie Neal taking contested marks, not getting the finger laid on him by an Adelaide midfield. And then I've got my boy here. He's gone back-to-back 140s. And before last week, you take the mini wins. He was up 29 points on the ledger. So Josh Dunkley was plus 29. It swung a little bit. It's plus 10 now in Lockie Neal's favour. But, that's the thing. 180 just is one of those weeks where you can't complain about that. What I will complain about, though, and this is my biggest gripe, and it's probably one of those seasons where it was looking really good, and I think the luck started to turn in the opposite direction. So, last week, I've brought in Jai Caldwell. I've really wanted that loop. I talked to a couple of Essendon fans just to get a really good understanding of Jai Caldwell and brought him in. And the week before, I was really, really not upset. I was disappointed watching Jack Steele. Just the way that he was running, he was just so far behind the ball. So the move I made was Jack Steele, Jai Caldwell. What I probably failed. So that's the move I made. It still looks good, but there's a big problem here. And the elephant in the room was I could have traded out Tuke Miller. And if Tuke Miller went instead of Jack Steele, the amount of problems that would solve this week. And obviously, you don't know Tuke Miller's going to get injured. You'd think that Tuke Miller against North Melbourne plus matchup looks good to start off with. Stubbed off on 33.
Man, that's
same thing. And so I live by it. It was a decision that I made. And you can't be a hindsight warrior here and say, oh, you should have traded out Tuke Miller over Jack Steele sort of thing. Look, it was a decision that I still would go ahead with Tuchmill instead of Jack Steele. I think that's the thing with sideways. It's a learning that I'll just say for future years is when you do a sideways trade, typically when you do a trade, you're going from a rookie to a primo. And typically you want the primo to perform well, but you're never really worried about the rookie doing well. But on the other hand, when you do a sideways trade, there's actually two parts to this story. There's the guy you trade in, and there's the guy you trade out. So if the guy that you trade out does really well, that's a win. But also the guy you trade in does well, that's a win. But the guy that you trade out, he has to do poorly for that to actually be a win.
That's so true, isn't it? Yeah.
And so just the moral of the story here is I probably overlooked Tuke Miller as a trade out option. The CBAs were lowered against Collingwood. And it's just one of those things I'm like, I probably should have paid more attention to Tuke Miller being a trade out option. It's a decision. We live with it. Charlie Kerner, you can go get stuff though, mate. Seriously.
Oh, boy. He's
I'm
turning
going on
again.
This close
going-
to grabbing him.
in sliced bread a couple of weeks ago. Now look at him. He's toast out
going
the
on.
window. Old toast.
I'm going off at Bossy a little bit here because one of the reasons why we were saying, I was talking to Dave, we just in the chat we have, Dave and Jack, we're like, they've kicked 10 goals in a row basically, and you haven't put Charles back. Stem the flow. That's where the floor was meant to be higher, and not seeing that just was really disappointing. This is the week though that I think he can really bounce. No Liam Jones. If he gets Rory Lobb, like, come on, Charlie. Come on. Just take him to the cleaners, mate. We need it. I'm just going to say, Jai Simple was my F7 2 weeks ago. Now is my F4. So,
Our times have changed.
Our times have changed. But we'll get into it. Enough about me and this rabble of a team for this week with no Tuke, no Gorn. Luckily, didn't bring in Rank. All right, if this is just a rant, I'm sorry. But if Rankin came in, so I bring him in first time and he gets injured after his 125. If I brought him in and he got suspended for 4 weeks,
Again.
this team was being deleted. I'm telling you, I'm lucky I didn't go there. But if he came in, this team is just done. We're out of here. We're hanging up the
would have done that. I'm sure. There's people that definitely would have done that.
100%. Yeah, there'd be a few out there.
Hope for the good times, you know. It's
oh my god.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts, mate.
Well, D, I think I primed you for your rant because top of the pod. DR's come with a rush, and I reckon, mate, you're going to overtake me in these next couple of weeks because this week's brutal. No. You've got the trades. Look, we'll see how we end up, but I don't know if we'll be top 300 for long. Let's just leave it at that. Let's go into your rant, mate.
You'll be right, mate. You'll be right. Now, look, as I alluded to at the start here, I do have a little bit of a rant, and this is, believe me, not football-related, people, but this is what we call a green machine. If you're a parent, you'll probably be very familiar with this, and I absolutely hate them. So long story short, boys, while I was out of action for a couple of days on the weekend, was that being school holidays, I thought time to clear out some junk, you know, and I found the old green machine, and over the years, my boys have slammed into machines, almost broke my legs, random incidents, running into things, crashing into things, almost killing themselves. So I thought they're too old for it now. River's too young for it. Let's just pass it on. So the next set of parents can experience some nightmares like I have myself. Would not believe it. So anyway, I hear a bit of a commotion out the front, knock on my door. Answer the door. Lovely young fella and his mum asking if the green machine was available to take. And I said, yep, go for it, mate. So I went out there, explained to the mum how it worked. And I said, all right, mate, go up the hill there, give it a bit of a whack down. Just be careful with the handles and, the gear sticks, whatever they are. Because the whole idea of these things is to drift and do donuts and all that sort of fun stuff. So up he went. I was literally standing right at the front of the driveway. As he's got to me, right, he's screamed down. He's turned and just clobbered me into my legs, just like the boys used to do. But I've fallen back and knocked my head on the bloody letterbox post, not letterbox itself, but the actual post of the letterbox. And dead set KO'd myself, right? No word of a lie. Been hazy for 2 days after that. They're extremely apologetic, these lovely people and all the rest. But these green machines, mate, cannot stand them. And even when I've thrown the thing out or given it away, it's still coming back to haunt me. So green machines, Tom Green, nothing greens work well for me this year. So, yeah, can get stuffed.
Far out. Only I was aware of the situation. You filled me in a little bit today over the phone, but I didn't know the specifics of it. That's crazy, man. And the fact
Bloody
that you
thing,
jumped
man.
on the Supercoach official
Yeah,
podcast the other
that's
day,
mate.
you would have been
Oh,
sort of semi off of the ferries there, eh? For
I
sure.
absolutely was. I was saying that to Janath before, pre-podcast. The boys were awesome, James and Al, and it was always an honour to be on there. But I was just a little bit hazy. I haven't rewatched it yet, but shout out to all the boys from the official podcast. It was a pleasure being on. You can check that out on YouTube or Spotify and all those wonderful places, I think. But yeah, it was a little bit hazy, mate.
Oh, good. Well, do we want to get onto a footy rant then, mate? What is going on here? Isaac Rankin.
Well, look, he is the absolute villain this week. Don't get me wrong, but he's actually a little bit of a victim. So just want to get the victim side out of the way, and absolutely no place for this in footy, boys. And we've talked about this a couple of times already, unfortunately, in the past, but there was a Lion supporter that put out on social media a couple of really racist comments, and I think he's actually been banned for life, believe it or not. Now, is that too harsh? I'm not too sure, but let's be honest, whether or not you've had a few too many drinks in your, comments like you made, I'm not going to repeat them. They're just not on. We've got no room for it. So I'm happy not to see him at any Brisbane games for the remainder of the season. And look, you may say a lifetime ban may be a little bit harsh, but surely by now people should have learned that it's just not on. So I am glad that they did take a pretty hard stance on that. And feel sorry for Isaac. No one should ever have to put up with that sort of nonsense. But at the same time, this bloke is a villain. Now, do I think it was an absolute dog cowardly act? No, I'm not going to go that far, even as a Lions supporter. Look, did he mean to hit Stars? Obviously he did. Did he mean to go head high? No, I don't think he did. I legitimately don't think that he would have meant to go head high. He was going to give him a fair one right up the middle because Stars was giving him an absolute bath. He was tearing him up, and Isaac was just not getting near it. So it was an act of frustration. But at the same time, I think he's a little bit unlucky that he did go a little bit high. But hey, it's a brain fade. And if you do go high, then you deserve to get rubbed out. And no one's talking about how Stars is. Remember, this bloke is from WA. He would have had the opportunity to play in front of his family this week, which would have been a real highlight for him. Not often that he'd be able to do that. Obviously, all the old lads would come to see him play as well. So that's the other thing we need to remember here. Poor old Stars. And if you look at since he came back into the side, boys, that's been wonderful for our structure. And look at Brisbane's form since Starsvich has been back. Very underrated player in our back line. So do feel for Stars. But at the same time, Isaac, just a dumb act at the end of the day. And unfortunately, mate, you've got to pay the price. And it's probably a good segue, I think, potentially, Janath, into the absolute carnage that we are faced with this week. We haven't seen anything like it all year, have we? And of course, the Supercoach gods decide to bring this upon us when lots of us are running out of trades. So,
dropping like flies,
man. Spills, let's start off with you, mate.
Yeah,
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blokes on the screen here. How many do you currently own, mate, out of the 6?
I've got 2. But one. But
2.
I got 5.
Oh, yeah, so sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles, Janath. And
I've got 3.
and this is good karma for those dogger owners as well. So Gorn, obviously, if I didn't have dogger, I'd probably burn my last trade off for. I'm not really sure. Like TDK is probably my favorite, but there's some sort of speculation around him as well.
I reckon this slide. I think we didn't have to say anything. I think this slide alone should give you enough cause to save that trade and do not sideways trade.
That's what I was saying to him. That's what I was saying to him.
In two ways. One, you're probably going to need the trade. And two, if these players are getting injured, Adam Treloar, man, really?
He's terrible. He's back on the park. He's had a full preseason. He's having a All-Australian year. And look, I'm probably going to wait a week, to be fair, because he still has a 145 break even. So I can hold off another week if I want.
Why you would trade Matt Rowell out? Like he may be the weakest link. But you're gonna make rank because you only have 2 of these bloody players in. Like you're gonna go up in the rankings regardless if you hold Rowell or not.
I'll definitely be waiting a week to see what happens, and then I'll assess it. But I've got nothing to lose. I'm 3.2k. Like I was saying to DR earlier, if I was in the top 1k, I'd be very conservative. But I mean, Rao, with a fully fit side, I'm dropping like 500 a week for sure. With the output, I mean, watching the TV, I'm sick of watching him. I hate watching him. I hate watching him on Saturday and going, oh, please just get an 80. Give me an 80. I'll take an 80. Like, he's M8. Unacceptable. I'd rather burn my last trade and just ride it out until it crashes and burns. And if it doesn't, we're looking at a top 1K finish, where if it does, then, yeah, we look at our lessons learned for the year. We reflect on, you know, would have I held a Nick Martin, a Hayden Young, and a Grundy at the start of the year and bring that into next year. But where I'm ranked at the moment, why not? Who cares? Like, anything to gain rank, anything to get some leverage. And I'll cop a short-term injury. I mean, the two dead rookies in the forward line have all of a sudden come back to life. So Jones come out and just shy of 90, and Hutchinson just shy of 80 as well. So, you know, I can run a loophole of those two. And then I've got Dowling as well. So, who should have scored a lot better than he did. I mean, gave away about 6 free kicks. He's probably looking at an 80 or a 90 if he's clean. So, look, anything short term, I'll cop. But, yeah, I've got nothing to lose, boys. But we'll talk about that later. Plenty of carnage. Got rid of Fisher last week. I didn't address that in my review. I did trade out Fisher to Caldwell. So, yeah, bit aggressive, but I just thought, as Janath and I touched on our top 6, I didn't have Fisher in there. I did have Caldwell, and you know, I was going to essentially like bleed a lot of points there, and I didn't know how long he was going to be out for. So yeah, no Fisher. Dowling will come on for Heeney. Nearly got Rankin. But
well,
yeah, Janath, mate, I'm shattered for you. Bad things happen to good people. Like Gov's been a crazy good pod for you, and
that's right.
Steal over Took, you just couldn't pick it. Like, come on, that sucks so much.
That's right.
We
have a plan, but let's actually discuss these blokes. So Fisher is a test to play this week. The foot is recovering well, is what North Melbourne have said, which is good. McKercher played really well on the weekend, so you would imagine that Fish would be straight back in, even though it's a winning side. Is there moves that could be made to accommodate Fisher back in, given you would say he was at least semi-influential to North's resurgence in the last couple of weeks, you would say? Heeney is confirmed 1 week, so unless they take it to the appeals board, he's not playing this week against North Melbourne, which would have been a really good matchup. So that's really unfortunate. McGovern, West Coast have listed as 1 week. It's been confirmed to be a single broken rib and a partial, I think, lung puncture. So I think it's not as bad as Petrarca, obviously, but still not great. Gov, I think Stephen May had a very similar situation earlier this year, and he missed a week as well. So that's probably a good timeline on that. Tuki Miller's the big one there, broken wrist. I mean, it was almost giving me a reason to trade him out, which is just ridiculous. But I think the big one that's going to affect a lot of coaches here is Max Gawn, 2 to 3 weeks. So I guess we'll start there, boys, in terms of under what scenarios would you trade Max Gawn, and to whom would you trade Max Gawn? So those are probably the 2 questions. Let me throw the first one to you, Dia. So under what scenarios would you trade Max Gawn?
If you're copping a donut, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I think that if you look, I'll give you an example, right? So if there were 10 weeks to go, would you use a trade on a player to upgrade from 100 averaging player to 110 averaging player for the last 10 weeks? Do you think that's worth the trade?
Depends how many trades, probably.
Well, put it this way. If he's out for 2 weeks and you'd be facing a donut for 2 weeks, that's potentially, 200 to 240 points, maybe conservatively, for someone like a Max Gawn. So I absolutely think it's worth using a trade if you've got a donut. Now, do you trade if you've got 1 trade left? Yes, I probably still would. That's just me, though, because when else are you going to use that trade? What other scenario would be worse than that? Hopefully you've got cover on every other line if you haven't got cover in the ruck. So I'd definitely be trading there. The other, potentially, if I've got 5 or more trades and I can straight swap Max to my preferred ruckman of choice, whoever that may be, then I would also trade him out there as well. Because I think if you're looking for someone like a De Koning, you need 40 odd grand more for this. And please keep in mind, he's also listed as a test this week. But let's just say that you're confident. Let's say you're confident that he gets up. And I'm assuming that Pito won't be in the same side as well. But if you're confident on someone like a Sam De Koning and you look at his 3-5 round average, you won't be able to bring a forward option in my humble opinion, that's going to average close to potentially what TDK would anyway. So I would also advocate doing that or potentially looking to do that, or a high ceiling ruckman. Some may want to go ultra pod and even go on Nank. I'm not too sure about that myself, but if that floats your boat, then go for it. If you've got 5 or more trades and it's not going to affect your team too much. That's my answer to the first question.
What I would say is that another way to look at a potentially DI is in my position. So I've got Fisher, Heeney, Gawn, McGovern, Miller. Now the Fisher coming back into the team is really important because I can make do and not cop a donut and only use one trade with these 5 guys and still have 22 players on field. Now, they're not all going to be premiums, but that's relying on Fisher coming in, swinging him back to cover for Gov. In the case of Gawn, if you also own a Miller type or Rankin, there is the possibility where you could, and you don't already own Luke Jackson, you could trade Miller to Jackson and bench Gawn and just use your 23rd to cover in the 2 weeks. That's another possibility. And this would mean that now I know that Max Gawn hasn't been great recently. He's only had that big 180 score in round 11. And since round 7, he hasn't gone above 180, even 115, apart from a 132 against Collingwood at the G. So could we possibly say that you don't want to antipod Max Gawn in Supercoach finals? Like, that's where I'm thinking it's one of those real risks there that you run. If Melbourne are competing for the finals, you'd imagine that a fully healthy Max Gawn, but that's the thing. Is he going to be fully healthy from they say it's a chip on the
He probably needs to be managed, to be fair. Like, I reckon he'll benefit for this. He'll come back fit.
Yeah. He'll come back fit, but does that mean that maybe they run a Fullerton and Gawn in the same side when he does come back in?
Potentially, but the minutes will be low as for Fullerton. Like, it'll be just like a reassurance for Gawn really is cooked, but I think it'll be fine.
This is the way that I see it. I don't love the scenario either way here for Max Gawn. See, I think if it's only out for the 2 weeks, then he's probably rushing back a little bit quickly to get back in the action. And I don't think that he'll be playing at his full potential. And keep in mind, no players are 100% fit at this stage of the season, but that really worries me. And if he's out for 3 weeks, then, quick maths, it's around 40% of the season that this guy will be missing for, isn't it? Yeah. So that's another thing to keep in mind as well. I'm a little bit worried about what happens upon his return. And if it is 3 weeks, as we say there, surely if we're going to use a trade, then 3 out of 8 weeks, when your ultra premium's gone in a position where you've only got 2 players and you know that you can't have that extra cover unless you've got Dogger. That's just something to keep in mind. Now, personally, I'm not going to be trading him out. So it sounds like I'm advocating trade him. I'm not necessarily doing that. I'm just trying to give every angle that you need to take into account, I think, with the pick when you're thinking of keeping or selling. I think it's a tough decision. But go Dogger owners.
With that.
A roo-roo.
There we go.
I'm so salty right now.
Yeah, cop that, Janath. No, just kidding, mate.
I'm just going to be copping it all podcasts, all this time the Max Gawn is out that I don't own Dogger Jackson. And the fact that Sean Darce got concussed as well, the timing of it all, like it's
meant to be.
It's literally perfect. Chef's kiss to you boys. All right, but let's talk to the second part of this question, which I think is important.
This would be good.
If you were to trade out Max Gawn, who do you trade to? So I'm going to throw you. I think this. Let's say okay, we'll make just 6. We'll make 5 to 6 names, and I want you boys to rank them, and then we'll come and talk as well. So obviously you've got. I'm going to go by average. So Max Gawn average is 124. The R2 currently is Toby Nankervis, and the average is 114. Then you got Brody Grundy, 113.3. Tristan Cherry, 112.1. Tim English, 111.2. Lloyd Meek, 104.4. And then Tom DeConning, 103.6. I haven't included Rowan Marshall in here, but you could as well. So that would leave 7 ruckmen. How would you rank those 7? So you don't need to rank all 7, but what would your top 3 be out of that list? Forget about the averages until now. From here on until the season, one other thing which I'll do just to aid you boys, just give you the respective ruck ease of matchup going forward. So using DFS's season-long DVP. So the easiest ruck run is for Richmond. They've got 4 green matchups. So that's GWS this week, Port next week, St Kilda and Hawthorn in the run home. Carlton is the second easiest. Hawthorn is the third easiest. And then in terms of who else would we look at? North Melbourne's middle of the pack, St Kilda middle of the pack as well. So Nankervis, DeConning, Meek probably have the easiest ruck runs, but do you see anything that would sway you otherwise to any of the other players that mentioned before?
Spilsy, any thoughts, mate?
Yeah, before I rank him, I would offer a proposal of what I would do in a scenario if I didn't own Luke Jackson. But if you had the trades, let's say you had like 3 or more trades and you wanted to bank one like injury trade, you could possibly, let's say you own a Kerno. What if you grabbed Jackson as that 7th forward and just had him as cover until Gawn got back, and then when Gawn does get back, providing Sean Darcy is fit and firing and Kerno being the inconsistent key forward that he is, you just loop him each week. I'm all for that as well. I think JD's probably doing that. I did watch his review and that's what he's leaning towards. But if I could rank the ruckman, I like Dakota the most, but obviously a test, and there's been a few like hiccups with him at the moment. So I find him the hardest to rank. I'd probably go really boring and just defensively batting for Tim English. I think he's fine. Like I thought about him at one point. Even when he doesn't look good, he still finds a way to hit 130 for some reason. I like Cherry as well. Cherry's so underrated. I love it. I love him because he plays with absolute spirit. Like he is the epitome of shinboner we've ever seen. It's just hard as. So I like him. And other like Nankervis, just so injury prone. I mean, I couldn't do it with the trades that we have at this point of the season. I would worry. I would be very nervous with Nank, despite the respective average he's got. And who are the other ones, Janath?
You could add Meek.
Yeah.
Lloyd Meek into that.
Yeah, Meek.
I really like Lloyd Meek. Lloyd Meek is a pick. He's
Gone
got Doggett this week.
Yep.
Possibly Darcy Cameron. And then the run home, you've got GWS Briggs is a good matchup. DeConning's a good matchup. But then I think the last 2 weeks is where you'll get unstuck. Richmond, Nankervis is a hard matchup, and Cherry is also a hard matchup. So that's where the sort of
peak finals
fall apart a little bit in those last 2 weeks. If you're going matchups, though, Nankervis, like if you think that Nankervis is going to stay healthy till the end of the season,
you want 4 or 5 trades to do that, though. You want to look ahead. You want to be expecting it. You want to have Nankin go any week now, and be ready for because he's had his injury problems, but it's good. He's a very good ruckman. I do like the shout.
And he's got a similar run. So he's got Giants, Port, Collingwood next 3, and then the run home is where it gets really interesting. St Kilda, Rowan, Hawthorn, Meek, Gold Coast. Is that Wits? Is that Moyle? A bit up in there. DR, where would you rank? How would you rank these, mate?
Yeah, I've gone a little bit different to Spills. So I'll give him a top 3. So probably at 3 for me, I'd have Brody Grundy. I see him as the safest option. I think he's probably the highest owned, I'm guessing, out of all the options that we've got there. Many of us traded him back in not long ago for a reason. And so I think it's really safe just to go Grundy at 3. At 2, I've actually got Nank, and a lot of it is matchup dependent. But, we've got to look at recent form here. And since round 10, He's gone 105, 127, 117, 144, 131, 121, and 159. So, we've got to give this bloke credit. And apart from that 105, they're all pretty much close to captaincy worthy scores. And at number one, now I know he's a test for this week, and should probably shift him off number one for me. But Janath's boy, the generational, don't forget,
20 million.
TDK. I mean, come on, look at his last five: 131, 140, 146, 176, and 128. The bloke is an absolute freak at the top of his game at the moment. And I just see his ceiling as something that's really, really hard to pass up. And in current form, he's probably the bloke along with Nank that you've got to go. But probably potential ceiling just puts him over the line. You could argue with that test, though, and Nank's favourable draw, that almost puts him at number one. So it'd be a toss-up between TDK and Nank, with the fallback option being Brody Grundy for me, mate. Janath, anything different from you, mate?
Yeah, look, I think this is something to also consider as well. I think Nankervis is number one for me. I just think...
Ooh, right.
And it's just playing the fixtures. If you can get up to Nankervis, he provides that sort of the floor and the ceiling in combination. I think he has the fewest red flags of the potential output that he could give. Because I think with Tom De Koning, we saw just a couple of weeks ago, managed against Richmond. Pidnett comes in. Does Pidnett come in? Because as good as Tom De Koning
Surely
is.
not, does he?
As good as Tom De Koning is, we saw in the quarters 2 through 4 in that GWS game, that's where the weaknesses lies. That if a ruckman gets on top of him, they really get on top of him.
That's enough for me then. That's enough for me. I'm Nank.
It's
hearing that.
It's I don't. Let's put it this way.
Even
I don't think Tom De Koning will be the sole ruck for the last 7 weeks of the season. He may be the sole ruck for 5 weeks. He may be paired up in 2 of them. I don't think he'll be the sole ruck in all 7. Yeah. That's just my take.
That worries me then, mate. I'm completely...
That's a big risk. Huge risk.
Yeah. See you later then, me.
With like a Nank, Samson Ryan's going to come in, but that's just a chop out anyway. I can't really see. Nankervis is the one, in with Grundy, we sort of seen some of the... He's so he's consistent, and he's got the ceiling, but the matchups, I just don't see them really there. Even like SCG 4 more games, but Cherry's no slouch by any means. Oscar McInerney, no slouch. English is a good matchup. Sweet's good matchup. Darcy Cameron potentially, but then the last 2 again are difficult. In that same way, boys, I know we've dragged on a fair bit here. 16.7% of the top 1% have traded out Gorn at the moment. And that stat for the top 5% is 14% have traded out Gorn in the top 5%. In terms of the most traded in at the moment, we're recording on a Tuesday night here. In the top 1%, the biggest ownership change is in your boy, Dogger Jackson. He's gone up 10.8% owned in the top 1%.
I thought he'd be up there. He'd be the one that I'd go with, just because there's so much.
Well, that way you get to keep going, don't you? I'm assuming most of these people are doing it.
Just see it there's heaps of uncertainty. I
wouldn't assume so, DR, because I think that if 16% of getting gone out of their team, they're probably going. Some of them are going to Jackson. Some are going someone else to Jackson, like in my case, a Miller to Jackson sort of thing.
I think, I don't like Gorn for Jackson, though. I don't like Gorn for Jackson at all.
I don't like it either.
This week, it's nice.
No, don't do that.
When Shrek's back, I don't like that. I like Dogger.
You want a seventh forward or your last forward upgrade to be Dogger. So you've got that.
100%,
and then
100%.
he's backing your best rookies. But boys, I just want to quickly elaborate on something. I didn't mention Grundy in my rankings because I just sort of assumed that pretty much everyone would already own him. But he would be he's pretty safe, and also I think and because it's such you're throwing a dart at a board blindfolded. We don't know which one of these rucks is going to be the best. Nank's got the best fixture, but he's I'd say he's probably the most injury prone of the lot, and at his age, he's had a few issues. Yeah, maybe, no, I wouldn't say it's a tough one.
It's tough, but I see where you're coming. Cherry, I feel is safe because even in tough matchup, tough matchups he does well. So
It's 100 every week. That's it.
yeah, I think
100
that's
flat.
what you come to expect with him. And so just very quickly, in the top 1%, the highest traded in pure ruckman is Tim English. It's a 7.9%. So I think going to English is the most popular move. But it's important to consider here that many already own Brodie Grundy, whereas not as many own Tim English. So it's like there's slight dip there. In fact, Brodie Grundy's decreased in ownership this week amongst the top 1%. People are trading out Grundy.
Well, and,
that's a good problem to have.
English is only 566. Like, I didn't know. I haven't been paying attention to the ruck line, but when I looked up De Koning and Nank earlier this week, I was shocked at their price. I couldn't believe how expensive.
Koning is way overpriced.
It'd just be a matter of straight swap or even get some money in the bank by going to one of these. So I looked their price up, and it's like, oh my goodness. Well, you look at the 5 round average, and that's why. But I was super surprised to see how expensive Nank and TDK actually were. What
about then, boys? We just throw up some players, because I know that the ruck one is the big one. Some replacements for we'll touch on your boy very quickly, DR, for rank, and I think there's one really obvious selection, so we'll just put that one to the side for Gov and for Miller. So is it, when I think about replacements for these players, are you almost feeling that it's almost better to, if you have to trade out 2 of, so that's Gorn and 1 of Gov or Miller, it's almost better to pay up in the ruck department and go a bit cheaper in the defense or the midfield? So I'm talking about Colby McKercher, Connor Rozee, Tom Stewart, and Nazaya Wangani Malera, perhaps. Or would you rather go cheap in your ruck line like a dog and then go a Jack Sinclair in your defense? So which way do you lean out of that, boys?
I go spend up on your rucks, because I think that the big boys in the ruck have some of the biggest ceilings in the game for me anyway. I'll tell you someone that could be a very, very sneaky selection. Not necessarily advocating for the pick, but if you want one of the biggest risk versus reward picks in your defensive line for the rest of the season, I reckon it's none other than your boy's brother, Sam De Koning, because he's a defender that has a number 1 ruck role at the moment. And
defender ruck DPP, super handy.
Wow, imagine that.
Litzar's had that once.
He did.
Anyway, he's got the weirdest DPPs ever. Litzar's nothing normal that you can ever actually loop with, it seems, with this bugger. But I don't mind the other De Koning, mate. Like 2 out of 3 weeks, we've seen a couple of really nice scores, both 120 plus. I know he regressed for that other game, but he had 5 free kicks against. So he's just a pod option that I'll just throw out there, because he'll actually allow you to potentially make some cash here if you can go down, and then use that to potentially get you gone to someone like your Nank if you haven't got the cash to do so. But he's just another smoky, mate, that I'll just throw out there anyway.
So if Zach Fisher was to come back into the team, would you be confident running McKercher at a D6 or an M8 for the rest of the season?
Oh, D6. Yeah, absolutely D6. M8.
If you're going to shift him off, it
doesn't look right.
Is it set in stone?
You're not going to ship him off, Spills. I reckon.
No.
If you'll bring him in,
you're
keeping him along.
If you're going to have him for like 4 or 5 weeks just to cover all this carnage when Gorn gets back or whatever happens, I like it. But
I don't think we have the trades to be able to get him back up to anyone.
No, look, I'll say, oh, well, look, I suppose when you're looking at the other blokes that you could get for his price at M8, if that's your budget, then I think he's fine. But ideally, I don't know if it's just the fact that the thought of seeing Cold McKercher there at M8 just doesn't feel right. But, it's not the worst. I'll say that much. It's not the worst.
Because the other option then is the Connor Rozee, the real sort of fallen uber premium that's still, he's gone up in price, but he's still at a very decent price, $495K. Basically a straight swap from a Miller. You gain 60K if you go down from McGovern. I think McGovern, that's one of the benefits, is if you were to trade him, even though it's just 1 week, if you're just not comfortable with holding him through, he's at 560K. So is that a good price that you can sort of wiggle around and get a player that you really want around there? I think a really good pick that's sort of flown under the radar, but not so much. I think in our circles, sort of in the Twitter circle, he's pretty popular and is Lockie Whitfield. So he's had probably a couple of bad games, not recently though. 6-9 against Geelong at GMHBA, 54 when he was tagged by Jordan. But other than that, it's basically been hundreds across the board. And yes, one of the gripes with him is that he needs so many touches to get a good score, but he can't really complain with 100s week in, week out. But again, he's one of those players, like if you trust a German McGovern, you're probably not going McGovern to Whitfield because it's probably laced with the same amount of danger.
Yeah, like, bloke will step on a pebble and roll his ankle on the way to training this bloke. Like, it's just weird stuff like lungs and livers and tongues and just the weirdest stuff you can imagine happens to Lockie Whitfield. I don't know what it is, right? I don't know what it is, but there's always something. But I agree, like talent role, like, yeah, you should be a really decent selection. But yeah, don't be surprised if something weird does happen with Mr. Whitfield.
So I guess just the last one then, there is probably Jordan Clark or Nick Newman. They're probably around the same price as well. Bit more expensive than Miller, about 50K, but cheaper than Gov. So I think they are both really decent picks. Newman in particular has a really high ceiling, whereas I think Jordan Clark's a bit more consistent. Do you boys have anything you want to add or any players you wanted to raise as potential replacements with these two?
Yeah, Clark's fine. I think you can't go wrong with him. I'd probably, to answer the question, I'd probably pay out more for a ruck. But there are, because as much as Sinclair is a absolute jet, and we all know what you're going to get from him, particularly with this Marvel run, I think there's some really nice value picks in defence as well. Like you just touched on Whitfield. I think Dale's at a pretty good price DR. He's usually pretty consistent. I'm not selling anyone this pick, but Elliot Yeo, obviously he's had a bit of a rough patch, but before that, pretty superb nonetheless. 139 on debut, and he's still like 520 or something. So there's some pretty good options. I think the ruck is a position you just don't want to get wrong. So if you're going to pick someone, you want to make sure that whether it's an English or a Nank, that you're going to have them for the rest of the season and they're going to deliver. So that's my take on it.
I'll give you one more defender that is under 500K, and it's actually Trent Rivers. So if I look back to his last month, 111, 131, 58, but then 143. So 3 really, really nice scores, and then the one absolute failure.
That game against that game against you guys, I remember that game vividly. He had about 9 touches in the first quarter, about 13 Supercoach points. He was kicking the ball to you boys every single possession. He was butchering it. Otherwise, he was actually looking really good in that game. I think his dream team was pretty good. So
to prove your point, Janath, as well, if we look at where he got a 111, then we're only looking at 23 touches. He's 131. It was only 21 touches. So it does go to show that usually he's pretty damaging by foot as well. He's in that midfield role now, obviously with track out. It seems like he's the bloke that they really want to spend a bit of time in there. So at under 500K, I think he could be a really, really decent pod option if you're looking for someone for the run home.
It's a good shout. Don't mind it.
Beauty. Well, good chat there, boys. We're just going to go very quickly now to probably the safest sideways swap from Isaac Rankin. Dia, take it away, mate.
Yeah, just very quickly, and we've talked about this quite great length for the last couple of weeks, but just a quick reminder, in my humble opinion, for those people that have Isaac Rankin and you don't have Jai Caldwell, I think this is such an easy trade, one of the easiest trades that you'll make for the year, to be quite honest. 544,200 means you are actually making money on this trade. The 3-rounder is 125.3. The 5-rounder, so this is an absolute flash in the pan, 111.6. The break-even's only 52. So if he goes around 110 to 115, he's making between 25 to 30K just this week. And it may be a little bit tough after next week to actually bring him in, depending on what your circumstances are. He's got that DPP as mid-forward as well. And if you look at that ownership, and particularly for people that have viewed the stocky for the last 1 to 2 weeks, that ownership in the top 1% has absolutely skyrocketed in the last 2. So 61.2% in the top 1%, 51.9, 47.6 in the top 10. And then overall, 13%. But what I always do is look at what are the best coaches doing, and the data there and the pattern says that they are looking to bring this man in. So average 85% CBAs in the last couple of games. Great role, huge tackle numbers, a contested beast. The only slight red flag that I've got here, and Spilsy may disagree on this, because I know that he thinks that, hey, maybe even tough for Darcy Parish to actually get a spot back in the side the way the Dons are travelling. But for me, that is the only small red flag, potential red flag, is that Darcy Parish looks like he should be fit and available in the next, couple of weeks possibly, which may slightly affect someone like a Caldwell, but other people may disagree. But just a very quick summation on who I think is the safest houses pick for your Isaac Rankin.
He looks so good. As a new owner, I was actually at my missus's uncle's house, and she said to get in Caldwell as well, so just had to run it past the missus just to
very nice.
make sure. Yeah. But watching Caldwell, he passed the eye test with flying colours. Like the way that the ground ball gets, the contested, and he's one of the players which, even as a Blues supporter, is one of the reasons why I don't dislike Essendon. Is like these kind of players that play for the jumper. You just see them, like when he kicked that goal in the fourth quarter, you as yourself as an owner light up, but also the fact that he played for the jumper. Like it's ridiculous. One thing, Isaac Rankin, they were recording this live right with the tribunal upheld. So he's gone for 4 weeks, and that probably locks the Rankin trade in. Misses 4 out of 7 weeks remaining. Probably the safest thing is to go straight to Caldwell.
You have to.
If you don't own him.
You've got to.
If you already have Caldwell, where do you go?
Dylan Moore. There are dead set. I like basically 7 forwards and literally 7 forwards only, to be quite honest. And you got the big 3. Then it was pretty much Rankin, Caldwell, Moore, and then Dogger for that insurance policy type stuff. Yep. So I've lost faith in your Kernos. I don't want to go near any key forwards. Hey, does our man Jai Simpkin possibly come into play?
100%. He's back.
If you look at the other options.
There's something about him, Dion. I think this is going to be really important. With North being competitive, I think there's going to be some of these games remaining in the season. Maybe not this week. Sydney is one of those weeks where you just want to loop him, but you can't. Because, maybe not you boys, but I can't because I got to get him.
No, I've definitely got to build him, mate.
Well, look, sorry, very quickly. I'll jump in extremely quickly and just say this. This is my personal situation. Others may be in the same boat as me. Is that I can't, with the one trade, just say, for example, Fisher wasn't to get up this week. I can't go from Fisher to Caldwell, Moore, or anyone above them in the one trade. I look at who I can get in one trade, and I'm interested in nobody. I've already got in Simpkin, as you know. Nobody even.
There's no one under.
Half piques my interest. I'll be completely honest in the forward line.
Could I tempt you, DR? Here we go.
It's going to take your best. It's going to take your best work here, Janath.
The podcast does the pew-pew. So I'm going to give a little pew-pew with who I think may be one of the future captains of North Melbourne, Charlie Comben. I know you boys owned him early in the season. His last 3 games, and he has leadership qualities all over him, by the way. 109, 117, 108.
Really?
Where was this in our team, DR? What?
Oh, Spills.
Come off it. 60, 55, 50,
60,
72. This is when I owned him. What the hell happened?
Aiden Core is playing very accountable. Callan Dawson is playing very accountable. And it's very obvious that Charlie Comben is the interceptor in that North Melbourne backline. And it's coincided with them improving in form as well. So maybe, just maybe, he is a player to just keep in the back of your mind if you really don't have anyone to go to.
I don't actually mind it, Janath. I'm shocked to hear his last 3.
I'm a bit flat about that, actually. I cashed him out for about 290 or 300 or something like that.
What a season that would be, trading in and out blokes like Fisher and Comben. That would just sum up what carnage it's been for me anyway.
And here's another bloke. All right. Ollie Dempsey. Ollie Dempsey's last 5 is 96, 104, 99, A 50 is a poor game. 122.
He's
So
a
old,
winger.
old
Where
mates,
He's a
old
winger. I
mates,
couldn't do it. I couldn't
old
do
mates
it.
realise
Not a
that he's
winger.
now an actual shot for the rising
Yeah,
star now
rising
that
star.
Harley's gone, and goes, let's get on the bike here, boys. Let's
He's
get the
made it.
20K check,
These
whatever it is.
rookies, they are the rookies that you think have topped out, and then they just kick on for that extra 100K. Like we saw it with Massimo earlier this year. Now we're seeing it with Dempsey,
Oh,
Combin.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, jeez.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
they're my two pew-pews.
I don't
mind
mind it, Janath. Look, beggars can't be choosers, mate, as we know. So if that's what your price range is around, then I can't believe I'm saying it, but I actually don't mind it, mate. Nice work finding a couple of diamonds in the rough there, buddy. I love it.
We'll see if they're diamonds or not. We'll see. And just finally, before we get into the mailbag, just the elephant in the room here. If you've got Kruger, plays first game of the round, it should be as simple as chuck the E on him. Now, you should do it at R3. Make sure you don't do it at F7, because if you do it at F7,
Doesn't
you're
matter.
not really going to get much. But put him on, see how he goes against Geelong. Look, Darcy Cameron was injured last week at the end of that. I think he actually went to hospital, if I'm not wrong. And he's going up against Sam DeConning. Possibly Kruger looked pretty decent in the second half of the Essendon game. But obviously, you boys just licking your lips. Luke Jackson against Lloyd Meek at Utah Stadium.
So
You
keen
can
for
cover
this.
him. You can cover Gorn. No Sean Darcy.
Could
Can
be a
they just-
VC.
I'm gonna
VC?
get on
DR?
with Kane
VC.
Corns here.
You're confident, mate. That's a
Get to get
big
on Kane
word,
Corns here, and Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson cannot coexist. I reckon they should just
It is
go their
one
separate
of the most
ways.
unusual things ever that they would sign Darcy. They could get a lot for him. I reckon they could almost get they could almost get 2 first rounders.
First round
off
and a
Geelong.
second rounder, perhaps?
I would have bet my
yeah,
house
but-
on he'd be at Geelong this
Yeah,
year.
a first and a second round off Geelong easily. Like they need a ruck. Like another story, but absolute shambles.
Agreed.
Well, with that, boys, I reckon we've touched on a lot of the talking points for this week. So when we get into this mailbag, let's hope it's not as long as it was last
many?
week when Spills and I covered every single one of your questions. So
We
let's
did.
get into it. Let's crack
I'll
into
tell
it.
you what, boys, did a magnificent job, and you actually got through them in good time as well, unlike what I normally do. So I'll tell you what, less absolute
28.
mumble from me. Let's get into them. I'm going to paraphrase here, and
28.
again, thank you very much to everyone that has left a question. First one here is from our man, Kata. G'day, boys. How you going? A lot of carnage so far this week. How many premiums will we each have on field this week? And how many trades left after we make our trades? So quickly, Kata, I'll jump in there, mate. So if I don't trade this week, which could actually be likely, I'll still have the 4 personally, mate. And I'll be down of the Isaac Heeney this week and Max Gawn. So depending on who you're calling a premium, mate, I'll have 21 on field. But that's calling Jai Simpkin a premium as example.
You count him a premium.
Yeah. Janath, how about yourself, buddy?
Lol, that's very funny. Because if Zach Fisher plays this week, I'll be down to 2 trades. So the trade which I'm looking to do is Tuke Miller to Luke Jackson and fix up 2 holes at once, basically.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah, like it.
And if you count Charlie Curnow a premium, Jai Simpkin a premium, then that's 20. So this is going to be a really challenging week. And just given the circumstances, Gov's on the bench, Heeney's on the bench, Gawn's on the bench. So it's not like the team's been ripped apart, but it just has to make do. This is probably going to be the week.
You'll be
Shrug
better
there, mate.
for it in the long run, I think.
Yeah, I reckon just... And 2 trades left, Catter.
Spilsy.
I have... I've got 1 trade left, and I'm looking at 2 premiums out and
donuts.
Gawn.
Yeah.
I'm looking at 2 premiums out and Gawn Handy. Other than that, pretty much full. So going
How
all
many
right.
primos? 20? 20 this
Pro-
week, Spills?
Could even say 19. Matt Rao. Jeez. he's not a premium.
Spills, you know what you should be doing?
I'm going to say
mate?
19.
Can we get
Give him a
can we get
half. Give him a
Supercoach
0.5
sacrifice?
at least, Spills.
Can we
Some
get
respect,
grass?
mate.
I
Come
want to
on.
see you eating some grass on this podcast, Spills. Yeah, I reckon they'll turn his form around.
Yeah, We'll see. I think I'd like to see how he goes without Took, and maybe who knows if he will be more involved. But I'm giving him one more week, and I'm sending it. I don't care. But yeah, answer your question, Cutter. Don't play like me.
Good on you, Cutter.
And
very excited to see you very, very soon as well, mate. Next one's from our legend, Jono Carano. Poor old Jono is not happy. He just bought Isaac Rankin in. We know that his band's been upheld yet, but just some nice words here. Loves the podcast. 3 awesome fellas who would love to share a bev with soon.
Thanks,
keep up great work. Thank you very much, mate.
We'll make that happen, Jono.
All the best to your family as well, Jono. Appreciate you. And remember, Saint being a super coach for anyone that's looking for some great content as well. Cheers, Jono. All the best, mate. Next one's from Lockie. So Lockie's facing some carnage, needs to trade Took, Freya to Humphreys for dollars, 4 trades left. Best picking up Dunkley or LDU. So Dunkley or LDU or Spills' boy, Trelaw or Cripper. I'm just going to say Dunkley out of those 4 options, with Cripps being my second preference. Janath, preferences 1 and 2 for you out of those 4, buddy?
I don't mind both. I think Dunkley's now really hitting his straps coinciding with Brisbane hitting their straps.
Yep.
And at the same time, though, I think LD could go toe for toe. We saw LD go back-to-back 140s a couple of weeks ago. Dunkley's gone back-to-back 140s. They both have that ceiling there. I'd go that first option. Who you pick is up to you. North have the easiest run home for inside mid. So
yeah, good
I don't really want to sway you one way or the other. That's really one where you back in your gut. You go with the player you prefer to watch.
Yep. Spilsy, anything to add there, mate?
Yeah, if you're struggling for money, I think Trelaw's been so overlooked this year. Like, he was 640k like 4 weeks ago. Got tagged randomly by Phillips for a 58. So now he's the cheapest you'll ever get him. Maybe next week, but I love Trelaw.
That injury risk, Bills. That's the.
I think he's past it. No, I think
if he's 24, we're picking him.
I listen to Ads and Dunks, and he's saying like this is probably one of the first real full pre-seasons he's had where he hasn't had any setbacks. So I don't know. I look at Zorko. I think chalk and cheese. I don't know. I don't mind it. He's only got to get through.
Spills, whenever you think about Trelaw, do you not think about the double hamstring like that? That's literally the first thing that comes to my mind with him. I don't
like if you bring him in. I'm bringing him in for his scoring, and yeah, if the ship sinks, then I'll go down with it. But until it does, we'll ride that wave. I love him. Right. I love Adzi.
All the best of luck, Adzi. Spills is absolutely cursed junior, mate. Next one we've got here is from a wonderful bloke, member of our channel, Tally. Now, Tally's 200 short from an ideal trade. He's got 4 different options here. So, boys, what we might do when the podcast done, actually get back to this and go through this with a little bit more detail, because I would hate to give you the just a quick version of this, Tally, because you've got 4 important options there, mate. You're a very important part of our community. Rail and Gorn out for Rosie and TDK. Very quickly, boys, what are your thoughts on these trades?
We can't do it. So it's unfortunate.
It's down 200.
I think they're the best trades ever. I'd go through with that if you could finance $200 from the Supercoach loan system.
Just looking very quickly, Tally. I'm just had a very quick squiz at your trades there, mate. And honestly, I don't mind trade 3 there. Real and Garcia to Dunkley and Humphreys. If you can find a way to cover Gorn.
Yeah.
Oh, it says donuts for Gorn. I say, yeah, don't do that then. Whoops, sorry.
Williams
Option D? Option D doesn't look too bad. Real and Gorn to TDK and Stewart. But it's the Real part.
Yeah, you'd rather. How about Gorn and Fisher to TDK and Rosie?
Depends on Fisher, doesn't it? Like if Fisher plays, would you trade him?
I'd rather keep Fisher over Rao, I'll be honest.
Look, if you can get from Gorn to someone like a TDK or a Nank, and it's Fisher to Rosie, like is Fish really going to average that much more than Rosie? But what happens with the DP?
Perhaps he could even. Would you say DR1 trade Gorn to TDK? Because I feel like based on the trades down there, I think you can afford it, and have 15k left in the bank.
I'd be
Going
going.
straight to TDK.
Go down.
Can
I
you
can't.
can you go Nank? Can you go Nank at that price or not over TDK?
I
I think he
I
should.
reckon
He
he
should be able
can.
to.
Yeah, he
Nank's
can. He's only
200
looking at the
$200
money.
short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know
He should
what?
be.
Gone to Nank may not be bad
Yeah.
actually.
And just one trade. I know Tally loves a trade. He's always plotting
man, he
things.
is.
So just
Yeah.
hang in there, mate.
That route to Rosie though, that could be serious trade. I'll like
Rota
that one.
Rosie. Yeah,
really like that
I don't mind going to Nank actually, but
Yeah.
all the best,
don't mind.
Tally. Hope it works out well, brother. Our next one is from Andrew Racek, our A legend. He's in a pickle this week. Doesn't know if it's stupidity, but Heeney decision not made at time of tweet. It will be now, mate. So he is gone. Look, the question is here: do we hold Rankin? Is 4 weeks too long to hold? And in my opinion, yes. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 50% of the season you can't be holding him, boys. Very quickly, any different thoughts on that, or easy trade?
No.
Go for Caldwell, Moore, Jackson in that order, based on who you don't have, or go one of the Uber pods that we mentioned.
100% agree. Yep. All the best luck, Andrew. Cheers, buddy. Next one is from Silver Pigeon. Hey, buddy. Janice, I need some advice on beating Spills this week in head-to-head. Well, mate, I tell you what, you need to have some weapons and prepared because Big Adzi Trelaw may be coming in this week.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Convince Spills to bring in
I'm
Trelaw.
probably not going to do that till next week, so you can rest easy there, mate.
That's the plan on how to do it, on how to beat him. Convince him to bring in Adam Trelaw this week for a double 20.
You want to beat me this week or for overall, though? Because if I bring in Adzi, I reckon it could be a pumping, but I reckon if I hold Rao, these guys in the box seat to absolutely smash me. So
Yeah,
I think I think Trelaw, it's one way or the other. I think if I have Rao, this bloke's got me on toast, really. But if I grab a Trelaw, like I'm probably that's how catastrophic this trade is, boys. I feel like there could be 70 points.
I think Adam Trelaw would really appreciate the amount of confidence you have in him, Spills.
If only their ads and dunks was a talkback show, I'd be ring in and hey boys, how are we? You're a gun, Adam.
You best know I'm on to dunks as well.
Oh, g'day. Oh, sorry, dunks. Yeah, g'day, mate. How you doing?
I'm like the cheerleader with the #1 thing for dunks.
I love it. Good on you, mate. And all the best luck with against Spilsy this week. Next one is from Manny, another legend. How are you, mate? Hold or trade Gorn. So I reckon we've covered this a lot, mate. We've talked about all the different options you look to go to. We've talked about probably how many trades you still need in the bank. Could use Jackson, but bench forward only has one playing. Like the need for Heeney. Tuka trade or can you cover? So, Janath, I think we've discussed definitely the Gorn scenario here, mate. Yep. Tuk, do you think is a definite trade, mate? Or all right, I'll say if you've got Billy Dowling as cover, do you think that's acceptable or just cut your losses now?
It's actually really sad. But seeing Billy Dowling on the weekend, he was going into defensive 50 stoppages for the Crows. He was around the ball. There was probably a world in which Dowling scope could actually get close to Tuk just as is. And that's not a good indication, but I see a lot of signs in Dowling that he can progress into being a stoppage midfielder for the Crows. And so you could probably cover with Dowling this week. In fact, I've got Dowling on field as well. It'd be great to see a team, Matt, because who that bench forward is really difficult. If it's someone like a Manor, like a lot of coaches that have Manor are going to be blessed this week having him as cover for Rankin or Heeney, whoever it is. But yeah, Tuk is probably trade 4 to 6 weeks, not a friendly timeline. So you probably cut your losses there, Matt.
You've got to get rid of him.
Get him to the best, most flexible player that you can that suits your team in general. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Good advice, mate. Next one is from the Duke. Hey, buddy. So he's got 3 trades left, got Strawn. So that's pretty tough. Have to trade in that scenario. Got English, so it can go one of Cherry. Yeah, well, we've already rated these guys so far. Out of those blokes, oh, geez. I don't like Jackson in for Gorn, but we've pretty much discussed all the other ones. I'd pretty much go Grundy or Sherry myself from those selections. Anything else to add, boys? No?
We did a full
No,
chat about it, so I'm
Yep.
sure
tough one.
the answer
Real
will
tough
come
one.
out. It is
Beautiful.
tough. Very tough.
All the best, Duke. Next one is from AHA Legends.
Just sorry,
408.
DR, very, very quickly. Sorry, mate. I'm just thinking, and the fact that I'm thinking this is because he's got Strachan at R3. Is it there's no reason to go Jackson? Because if you get Jackson in, he's going to be stuck at your R2 for the rest of the season because there's no way to actually get him down into your forward line because you don't have the Livingston.
Yep.
So I think you scrap Jackson and you just think
Jackson's not
which
R2.
ruckman you want from here.
He's not R2.
Ideally want him. Yeah.
He's F6,
want
but
him-
good cover. He's your cover. You're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point, mate. Maybe no to Dogger in that scenario, mate. Back to AHA, buddy. So poor old H brought in Rankin. He's had a very unlucky season. He's a great coach. He's our main H. But looking at Rankin to Caldwell and 160k or Sinclair and 65k, I reckon absolutely Caldwell and 160k personally. And what to do with Fisher if not named? So if not named this week, are you confident enough just to trade him? Or are you still going to hold on?
I hate these lingering injuries. Hate them.
All right. Well, how about, is it a different scenario if he's named in the VFL this week for some reason?
That's the key.
Is
if he's named the VFL is a trade?
Is a trade. So if named in VFL is a trade,
if he's healthy and he's named in the VFL, he's not best 22.
Oh, I hope it doesn't happen.
That means.
That would be such a killer to my side.
Would.
But all right. Very quickly, Janath, if it's missing one more week due to injury and you can cover, hold.
You've already held. Like, if you're going to trade him, you were done it last week. Like, I trade him because I don't like those injuries without a timeline because I got burnt with Hewitt 2 years ago. I didn't know when he was going to come back, and he never came back, and I was stuck with him. So I think, you just
and I guess
trade.
Just the other thing on that, Spills, as well, is let's just say to everyone, it's not bad to cop a donut if it helps the long-term outlook off your team.
Yeah.
So I think that's something we underestimate is the 60 or 50 points you may gain, I don't know, 100 points even that you may gain from a trade. In the long run, if your player's back next week and you're confident in them being decent moving forward, I think it's fine. Just long-term holding on to that trade and using it at a better point.
Yep, awesome. Next one here is from Aero Axe. Hey, Aero. So basically, long story short here, boys, he's got Sexton and Curnow still on field, but only the two trades. At this stage, do you think it's just a matter of a hold those two trades and save them for injury carnage?
Save them for a rainy day.
Save them for rainy day.
You could even use Mana as a loop this week.
That's those. Yeah, you've got Mana, Dowling that's playing, Ari that's playing down back, Humphreys that will hopefully get a game. So I think we're probably in all agreement there, mate.
That's actually one of the better benches I've seen.
Solid.
That's a very good bench. Yeah.
Solid, isn't it? Yeah. All the best of luck, mate. But yeah, probably save those for a rainy day, buddy. Hopefully they can come back to form. Next one is from Begsy. He was in our last community pod. Begsy, how are you, legend? How we been? Very, very well. Thanks, buddy. Do you take a donut with two trades left or use one to avoid? Just quickly touched on that. Gawn, Heeney, Gov out. No defensive cover if Sexton or Fisher, because Sexton and Fisher required up forward. It would be Gawn out, but for who? So we've talked about the options for Gawn out, mate. But the big question...
You can't cop a donut. You can't cop a donut. You'll fall. If I would, even if it was my last trade, if I was going to get a donut and I was like on the ropes, well,
I wouldn't. I don't mind taking the donut if it's the case.
Yeah,
I'm probably
if Gov is in next week, Spills, there's no point in.
Yeah,
if that's what they're saying. You got to take with a grain of salt that they.
Yeah,
it may not be.
But donut's so bad though. Like not even a rookie to cover. Like that's so.
But like, if you don't have any trades and you have round 21, you're going through Supercoach finals with 21 on your field, that's worse than whatever we're going to face this week, I reckon.
I guess so, yeah. Short-term pain, long-term gain. Good way to look at it.
That's just what that's just exactly what. Yeah.
It is. That's probably the sensible way, because my initial reaction was to use a trade, I think. I hate copping donuts, but you got to look at it. It is a marathon, not a sprint, mate, so probably good advice there. Janath, all the best of luck, Begsy. It's a week of carnage, mate. You won't be the only one, buddy. I tell you that. Next one is from the ladies' man. So is Humphries the best rookie trade in this week? I probably think he's got DPP. Looks like he's playing well, scoring well enough as well. Can't get my last premium yet. Let's have Logan Evans as defender. Have to wait some weeks. Kruger has to step up for Heeney. Hopefully, mate. Hopefully. But boys, do you think that Humphries is probably the logical trade in this week if we're looking to get a rookie in? If you don't need to go all the way down to 102k?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's fine.
Yeah. So. Beautiful. Cheers, calls up. All the best, buddy. Next one is from Logan. Hey, buddy. He has known Maxi all year. Screw me over. As now people are jumping on TDK, which is a pod. No questions this week. Just want to say a huge thanks to you, lads, for the work you have done this season. Best in the business. Appreciate you,
Thanks,
man.
Logan. Appreciate
Thank you very much, Logan. And isn't it frustrating, mate, when you've got this ultimate pod and then people just jump all over
jumping
it.
on.
So,
yeah.
Frustrating, brother. But good mind, mate. Getting him in early. Well done, mate. Next one got his Broads. Hey, Broads. Got Rankin Gov gone out this week. If Heeney gets off. Unfortunately not. Sorry, mate. But Kircher is a 23rd, which is nice. Rankin to Jackson to cover Gorn, or Rankin to Caldwell, Gorn to TDK, or another ruck. 0 trades. I'm going the first one, boys. Yep. Keep a trade up your sleeve, mate, and use Dogger to cover, I think.
It's fine getting a rookie. It's fine getting a rookie on field this week. Many will. Many may have 2. I've got 2. Many have 3.
Got 2. I've got 2 this week. I've actually got 3, Matt Rao, but, anyway.
Poor bloody really, mate. Jeez, you're giving it to him, mate. You're the one who paid up top price.
Whatever's come. That's why I'm giving it. That's why I'm giving it. Whatever is coming, he deserves.
Really.
George will bat for me.
Hey, buddy.
He's got him too.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sure a lot of us will be asking similar questions, so just sit back and listen to you. Let you know it. Good on you, mate. All the best, mate.
Good bloke.
The Angry Chihuahua. Can't just wait for a lot of games. 4 trades left.
I was expecting that.
I don't know why. I don't know. I've got the dog in me. That sounds bad. Nah. Moving on.
He's got the dog in him, Phil.
Oh,
he's got the dog in him.
Corner Cordwell. What's happening? I need to get back to this question. Carnage this week for a lot of teams. 4 trades left. Looking to trade Gorn to Cordwell. Cash the bank to bring in a premium later. Possibly even Gorn, yay or nay.
Oh, my goodness.
What do you reckon?
Imagine saying that at the start of the season. Should I trade Max Gorn to Jai Caldwell?
Mate, wouldn't it?
How does that work, though? Like, has he got Dogger coming up into the
guessing.
But what happens? Yeah. Is he stuck with him at R2 for the rest of the year? Because he kind of lose that.
Yeah. That's what he's saying. He can bring a premium back in.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
But 4 trades, DR, you're probably in the best position here because this is probably your scenario that you'd be dealing with. 4 trades, Gorn. Do you trade him out? Who do you trade him to?
Yeah.
It's really, really hard. I'd almost rather than go. So if you go Gorn to Caldwell, you're pretty much committing to using another trade in your rucks because you just won't want to have Dogger there. So I would probably just in the one trade go Gorn down to a cheaper ruckman that you still like. I think that would be my best advice rather than going Caldwell and then having to get another ruck because I just hate to have Dogger sitting in my ruck for the rest of the year. It would be so painful having to field him each week in the rucks when you got other blokes that I'd even go with Tim English, for example.
I'd go if it was me, I'd just go Tim English.
I'd be happy with that. That would be my preference anyway, but it's tough. Caldwell's in good form, but I'd probably prefer not to stuff around as much in the rucks here, buddy. All the best, my man. Daddy, g'day, mate. May have already been answered. 2 trades left. Do we hold? Yeah, so I think we've pretty much covered this, guys. Do we hold or trade Gorn with no ruck cover? I think we've gone through it. Jackson leaving 1 trade left. Probably, well, what would you another do, guys? Trade another fallen primo to Jackson?
Leaving 1 trade. I do the second one. That's what I'm doing, personally.
Yeah.
Because Gorn for another ruck, it's just that lingering feeling that Max Gorn's just waiting for us to lose his ownership and then like last year pump out that massive score and you just feel worse for it.
I won't want to trade him personally, but
All right.
What would you do, Spills? Would you trade him?
I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Like, I'd feel uneasy. I'd rather just cover it, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yep, beautiful. Next one is from Big Chungus. Hey, buddy, Miller to McKercher, or save one trade in the bank, or burn both
Save
final
it.
trade. Clark to
Keep
rookie,
it.
615. Yeah, Miller to McKercher with one trade, I would go. Janath,
Yeah.
anything different?
Burn both final trades. Drop Clark to rookie. Ah, I see. Yeah, Miller. You boys just keep talking. I'm just gonna have a look at
Yeah.
Miller and anyone under his price.
Spills,
I
are
know
you,
to-
are you happy with
Yeah.
McKercher for Miller there, mate? Or are you sort of going to full send it? Get,
don't know if I'd-
Clark out to another rookie and get the best of the
Yeah.
best.
It's a bit rich coming from me, but I'd probably bank that trade because it's not ideal. It's a
It's
tough
not.
situation to be in. I mean,
Do as I
Oh.
say, not as I do. Yeah,
Do
yeah.
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
McKercher, it's such an awkward price that Miller's at 485k. Like, poor, that's terrible.
Can you
like
get
the
him?
way that it just unfolded.
Yeah.
I
McKercher,
assume this chap
ironically,
has got Rosie. Like you can't just. He's already got Rosie.
I don't think he can get there because he's saying anyone under the price. So it's basically no money in the bank. You would imagine.
Rosie.
If he
That's
can get
all right.
Rosie, yeah,
I would.
easy.
What's Rosie price? Say he's like 495.
495. Stewart 491. I don't mind Stewart
What's he got to
as
play
a
with?
new midfielder.
McKercher,
Trent
yeah.
Rivers slightly more expensive, but yeah, it's such an awkward price around that range. Jai Simpkin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All
If you
right.
want consistency, I'll give you one other one. Massimo D'Ambrosio. His last
Yeah,
seven
another
games
one
are
that we-
of 90.
Thanks, boy. Shout out to you, bloke. Still running with Massimo. Boys, I've just had a quick scroll down. I think it's turbo time. I think that's time where we get the absolute turbo jets on because we've already been going for
let's
close
do
to an hour and a half.
Yeah,
And we
we
need to
gotta get
smash
this-
it, boys. So
Come on.
turbo time. Let's go. Here we go. More. What gap do you see between Ed Richards, Caldwell, Kirch, and Wardlaw? It's a big question there, mate. But I would have Caldwell first, McKercher second for the price, Richards, and then
Oh.
Wardlaw would be my ratings. Anyone different there, boys?
I'd go Richards
Swap.
too.
Richards two, Janath.
I was almost going to say swap Wardlaw in above Richards. With
That's
your
fair.
ratings,
Okay.
Fish is out. Richards last. It's just
Yeah.
I can see it going both ways. Wardlaw, when he was playing pre-concussion, was looking like he was going to go to that next level.
Yep.
But
Oh,
Caldwell
love
won,
Wardlaw.
for sure.
Wardlaw
Yeah.
is good.
Caldwell one. Yep. All the best, Maury. Cheers, mate. Bales, who averages the most from here? Rosie, Wardlaw, Brayshaw, Darcy Moore, Rivers, Ridley, Houston, Yo,
Whoa.
Steele, and Warner.
Whoa. Settle.
All right, boys.
Steele
I'm
and
going to
Moore?
pick one name, and I'm going to go real pottish here. No, I don't think I'd be accurate. I'm going to go Rosie
He was
with a
gonna
real
say
pod
Yo.
Trent Rivers. Rosie with
Yeah.
pod Trent Rivers.
Yeah. I'm going to say
Anything different,
Rosie with pod George Wardlaw.
Beautiful. Spills E.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Rosie as well. But
Yep.
last week wasn't his finest, but Pod Elliot Yo, I don't mind him.
Pod
Still a good
Elliott Yeo.
price.
Beautiful.
Mate, he was
Don't
he
mind
was
anything.
he was flying earlier in the year, absolutely flying. So
Oh, but Houston. If anyone's got a luxury trade for Houston, like this bloke.
I'd love to get
Again,
rid
another one of these
Houston.
blokes where it's just got
Frustrating.
the floor's coming out now. It's really bad.
So bad. What happened?
Well-
It was like 170 and then
Yeah.
We'll talk
regression
about
120
that.
points.
Bottomed out.
Poor old Lukey here needs to trade Rankin and one of McGovern or Gorn. So Caldwell or Jackson. Oh, well, I
Yeah.
think Caldwell's always going to be the number one pick.
Yeah.
You can use Jackson to cover. Already got Kruger as cover, but Jackson tried extra cover. I think
No.
I would go Caldwell.
Extra cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caldwell. All the best, Luca. Bales, hey legends, what would you rather do? Option one, trading Gorn to DDK, Nank or Sherry. I would go Nank.
Wow.
And Rao to Rosie. Option two, Gorn to Meek and Rao to Neil.
I would have done Rao if I had the trades. I would have done
Oh,
Rao to
wow.
Rosie in like a speed run. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
but do you like Meek and Neil
Yeah.
or
Well,
Nank and
yeah.
Rosie?
Well, you boys had Meek pretty high up there on the power rankings, so I mean, he could be.
But what's the
pretty solid,
difference
but
between Rosie and Neil? What does Neil average from here? What does Rosie
Yeah, I
average
know.
from here?
I'm
bit
actually
more,
tempted
a
to go
bit
option
more.
1. I just really getting a big boy.
How about we do this?
It's tough. It's really tough, but I'm going option 1 with Nank and Rosie. Just only because I have to try to give an answer. It could change in the next 5 minutes for me.
Oh,
Anything
that's-
revolving, getting rid of Rao, I'm all for. So that's my
Well, he's on that
bias.
track with both trades, which is nice, Phil. So yeah, you're for it. Either
Other
way,
than that,
just
I
get the
agree.
bugger
I
out.
agree, 100%.
I reckon I'd go Nank and Rosie just as well.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah, I
Okay,
like
Macca,
it.
the Tuke and Rankin have to go. Yes,
Yeah. Yep,
unfortunately, buddy.
Both
Very
of them.
unfortunate there, mate. Yeah,
I don't
bad
think he
luck
can
to him.
cover 4 weeks with both of them. It's just
Yeah.
too much points.
Super unlucky there, mate. Luca, me again. For the other trade, most likely trade me. Governor, leave me 1 trade left in the season. 650k max to spend. Nah, I still think, mate, we'd go that first option, buddy. Too much sauce. Would you trade Gorn if he's out for 2 to 3 weeks, like it says? We've answered that one, mate. And should you bring in the 23rd primo for the forward mid to
23rd.
cover these blokes, or just use the rookie?
Just use a rookie.
Use a rookie,
I
mate.
think.
Unless we're
You got
talking like we've
trades.
got, a million trades in the bank, mate. 2 more. Stevie Price, hey buddy.
610.
Hey legends, who's the best ruck to get for 610k or less?
610. You're probably looking at Tristan
English.
Cherry, English, Grundy.
I'm going
They're both
English. Let's say let's say
going
they own Grundy. If they own Grundy, let's say if they,
Yeah.
surely he has Grundy.
I'm going Sherry over English. I've
I'm
got
going
bad
English,
vibes about English.
Yeah,
Man, bad vibes.
It's funny because I own English, but I'd still go Grundy and Cherry above English.
dead set. English has been pretty solid, but
he wasn't even starting in the ruck on the weekend. What is it? What's his name? Sam Darcy took the first centre bounce.
Yeah, that's just
bad,
yeah.
man.
That's not even. That's not a
That's
bad
not
reflection
bad.
on English. That's
Tim
just
Eng-
Bevo.
Tim-
That's just Bevo
No,
doing
it's
Bevo
not.
things.
Bevo maturing is realizing that Bevo is actually not a bad coach.
Boys, we're going to end with Johnny here. Hey, legends, Nank or TDK? We've answered this one, mate. Originally, I had TDK, but Nank in front for me now, mate, mainly due to the fact that he is under a test, and Nank has a really nice run in the rucks. We got there, boys. Very well done again.
Just click see probable spam just to make there's 2 questions in there. Just
sorry, I think that's all these.
This happened to us
exotic-
last
exotic
week.
ladies asking me to check out their pages and stuff. Sorry, Jared. Now, Jared, for some reason, mate, Elon has absolutely dogged you here. And lucky that we've got Janath there to
Nothing
to get the
dodgy
question
about
through,
this
mate.
comment. What's the go with that? What's he said that's possibly explicit?
Yeah, it's not poor old Jared. He
It's a normal question.
It's not that bloody controversial, is it? Jared isn't getting his bits out here. G'day, legends. Got Gordon ranking out this week, so I was wondering what options you guys reckon I should do. Gordon Rankins, TDK, and Caldwell. Mwah. But this leaves me not able to get a 23rd primo to cover Kerno.
Doesn't matter.
I think that should be the
That
least
doesn't
of your worries
matter.
at the moment, mate. Yeah.
That's a great
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Rankin and Richards to Jackson Humphrey. I'm going the first one, boys.
First one easily.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Also,
Alright.
thank you to everyone when asking the question that you left the number of trades that you had in.
Yeah.
Because
Always, it always
that's
helps.
probably the biggest variable this time of the year.
Always
Absolutely.
helps.
Always is, isn't it? Yep.
Yep.
All right. On to the trades. Janath, my man. Oh, well, Spilsy, we'll probably start with you, mate. We
Yeah,
don't
so
need to go.
this isn't-
Look, Spills, I want to spend, I'm telling you, another 30 seconds max on Adam Trelaw during this pod. I cannot believe the amount of times I've said Adam Trelaw during this podcast. But once and for all, mate, give us a quick outline about this bugger here.
No, he's unreal. Like still averaging 113. That's a 58 in consideration. Just being consistent as seems to be durable again. He's definitely top 8. So and he's at a great price. I mean, 571 for Adam Trelaw. Like I can't get to a Josh Dunkley or anyone above 600k. So I like it. It's just unfortunate that Rouse dropped so much money, but What I will say, boys, is I will be holding off on this trade this week. I'm going to give
boy.
Rao. The
Good
reason
man.
is so
Yes.
Trelawn's, despite the 129 against a very dominant Port Adelaide midfield. I mean, that's a crazy effort. He's just
That's a
been
great effort.
such a good midfielder, so overlooked. He still has a 145 break even. So I'm going to wait one more week and see how things pan out with Rao. With no Tuke Miller, he's got one more week, Matt Rao. I can't cop it at M8. I wouldn't do this if I was your rank, boys. Like, you guys are a 3-digit rank, play defensive, hold your rank. But I'm at 3.2k. Like, what have I got to lose? Nothing, to be honest. Like, Rao's just going to cost me every week. So I'm just going to see what happens. I really like Adam Trelaw, though. And he's 2% owned, boys.
We
like,
get it. Yeah.
What a pod. But yeah.
Oh, it's
I know, boys.
Spilsy,
You got your heart set on
Intended.
something, and I'm sticking to my gut here, and my gut says that Trelaw's going to be a good pick. And I don't want to look back at it and go,
Spills. At the end of the day, that's the biggest thing, isn't it? Backing in your gut. No
100%.
matter what DI and I
We
say,
overanalyze it.
we're
boys,
playing the
like,
devil's advocate here because, look,
Yeah.
you do a
Really,
sideways. And I was saying before, Spills, the fact is Rowley might not go so well, but you do want your trade in to go well. So the ideal scenario would be you bring him in, Rowell goes poorly, Trelaw goes to the moon, and you're laughing. So
what happens when Rao gets to like 430k and all I can afford is like someone at 520k? Like, there's nothing. So it's kind of one of those actions where it's a now or never. Even though I'd like to do this in another 3 or 4 weeks, I kind of feel like my hands are tied a little bit. And yeah, I don't know. It's
I'll
tricky.
guarantee you something here, Spills. When you do make this trade, a meme will be created. It's either going to be one of those ecstatic ones where the bloke's going absolutely crazy, or one of those shattered ones where the rain is just falling, the sky is
I'll
dark.
cop it.
There's a
I'll
meme
cop it,
being
boys.
created. I hope for your sake it's going to be the celebration one, mate, rather
I'll
than
cop
the
it.
the world is
If
coming
it-
to an end.
If it falls apart, then it is what it is. That's
It
at
is
the end of
what
the day.
it
It is. It's just a game, boys, and I really want to watch. I hate watching Matt Rao play. I love watching Trelaw play, and I think it comes down to that as well. Like, actually wanting to
Alright, mate.
watch players that you own. So, we'll next week though, boys.
not next week, boys, but the following week. Can we do our never again lists? I think it'd be
Good
very
idea.
interesting to see who's on each of our never again lists, because this bloke.
Good segment.
Sorry, D, I've just hijacked Spills' Adam Trelaw love fest.
Take us
Dude,
away, mate.
Where's You've never seen this tuk again. Never.
That's
If
it.
this comes on, please
Nah.
tell me never to do it again.
I
Remind me of
respect
this
it.
day.
I respect it.
You've never seen this tuk again.
He's going to smash the tuk up here. Pieces of Lego all over the shop. Oh, I tell you what.
He's
Oh,
been
well,
ruthless,
one of
TR.
the never again
Very
lists.
ruthless, but I like
Yeah,
it. I like
he's
it.
one of my favourites too, but very
What
unfortunate.
happened to him, Janath? What happened to Tuke Miller?
Oh, he's been
What
such a
happened
nightmare.
to 2022?
Ruins best
Tuke
18
Miller?
weeks. Getting tagged by Windhager.
Yeah.
Stuff him,
But I
man.
think they're better as a side as well. He was such a standout because other guys were developing around him, I think, a few years back. But now these guys are actually coming into their own as well. So not as much of a standout. Very quick with me, boys. Now, again, I don't know. I'm just throwing out some possible scenarios here. For me, it could potentially be something like Sexton and Brucey Boy out, which I'd hate to do, and get Caldwell and Humphreys in. The reason why I potentially may look to do this week is the fact that I'm worried if I don't move on from Sexton now, that my options may be limited. You know, if he goes down this week, Caldwell goes up. As I mentioned, there's no other forward line options that I'm really interested in, apart from possibly a Dylan Moore, but he doesn't have that DPP. Then I may have left my run a little bit too late. So whether or not I will do it this week or not, I'm not too sure. But to be able to upgrade a Sexton to someone like a Caldwell as that other forward option, I think it's a real luxury. And also getting Humphreys in as well, who's at the bare worst may provide a little bit of cover, a 40 or a 50 maybe. He has been scoring better than that. But
really turned up there.
91k. So 91k in 2 trades is what I'd have left if I made these 2. And keep in mind, I'd have a 23rd, which would be Simpkins/Dogger quality, depending on who you want to say is your 23rd. So, Janath, very quickly, you give me the go-ahead on this, mate, in my current predicament, or are you saying hold off DR, leave those little nuts in the tree like the squirrels, son?
What? Very quickly, if you do these trades, what does your team look like this week? Any rookies on field? What would it look like?
There would be
on the
only
spot.
the one rookie on field. So I'd have Heeney out and Gorn
Dowling.
out, and it would be Billy Dowling on field.
Yeah, look,
I think he's
in that
fine.
case, I think that's fine. Caldwell, MCG, Melbourne this week, Adelaide and Marvel, St Kilda at Marvel. We just saw what the Brizzy mids did. We saw
Caldwell's
what
he'll
Mids-
cut him up.
Merritt and Caldwell in these next 3 games, possibly without Parrish, and all 3 of them we're going to carve up. Yeah.
Yep.
But
Yep.
just be the only concern that I have is Sydney round 23, Brisbane round 24. 2 tough matchups for both those mids. But yeah, Caldwell as
I think
a forward this year.
it's good for Caldwell.
really
I think the last
Possibly,
two matchups the last 2 matchups will be tough for Merritt, but I don't think they'll be tough for Caldwell.
But at the same time, Essendon competing for finals, top 4 spot. They're both like we saw how they came out against Collingwood.
Yeah.
I reckon it's going to be that
we've
same
got
type
everything
of
to play for.
mentality in those 2 matchups. Everything to play for.
Jai is the edge. That's what I reckon.
Jai is the
Thank you very much, boys. And Janath, your trade, mate.
Yeah.
Your single trade.
So
for the week.
Miller's the one out that has to go because of the 4 to 6 week prognosis. Jackson will come in, and I think, as I was saying before, it sort of fills 2 holes in terms of providing
I like
ruck
this.
cover now
It's
for
good.
Gawn, as well as ruck cover in the future, as well as an opportunity to go with the F6, F7 with Kerno. And the only thing this means is I'll move one of my forwards into the midfield because I'm getting rid of 2, because I won't just won't get another mid in. So it'll be 7 forwards, 7 midfielders and 1 forward in that midfield 8 there.
Yep.
Okay, beautiful. All right, boys. Trades for the week done.
And captains to finish us off. Let's do it.
Capitanos, we go.
So I
Oh.
haven't got the data with us, but very quickly, I'm looking at Sack Merritt against Melbourne at the MCG. Again, very similar crunch time matchup. That way, unfortunately, we don't have sort of the Max Gawn. You don't have the Heeney this week. So I don't mind Nick Dacos on Friday night against Geelong.
Yeah.
They shouldn't tag. I don't think they will tag him.
It's just a bounce back Nick game, I think.
But
He'll be livid
can we
last week.
the big elephant in the room, Sunday night. Now, if anyone likes a good old last game captain, there's 2 really good options, possibly even 3. We'll say 3.
Yeah. No, there's
Josh
there's
Dunkley,
2.
Lockie Neal, Dane Zorko. I think if you own one of the Brizzy mids,
There's one.
pretty
There's
easy
only one
captain.
DR. There's
There's
one.
only
Hold
one
on,
Chucky.
hold on.
There's only one
Chill
Chucky.
out. I'll take my dunks.
Sorry, Janath.
Look, I'll
Off
take
to
the
races,
Hey,
son.
you might. Let's hope we get that 140 from Dunks to make it back to back to back to back. Come
Oh,
on,
That'd be
Dunks.
massive. That'd be massive.
The triple double
yeah,
specialist, Josh Dunkley.
One of the really tough games to predict this week is Western Bulldogs Carlton, because I feel like there's a
Yeah, I
big
was
score
looking.
in that game. Tom DeConning, when he rucks alone, is giving up bulk points to ruckman. And so Tim English, as much as I loathe him, owning him, he could be a good VC option this week. At the same time, the
okay.
Bulldogs midfield is one really hard to predict. We've seen
What
how
about-
North mids struggled to score against them, but we saw how easy the Port mids scored against them. So it's like, which Dogs midfield will it be this week? That's important
we
for
think
Sam
of
Welsh,
Bond?
Paddy Cripps.
Are we looking at Bont, boys? So,
Bounce
He's
back
seven-
game.
yeah, he's still 700K. Look at the season he's had. 106, his floor. Is he bounce? I think one of him and Nick are going to really bounce back. So I think it's out of those 2 I VC. I want to VC one of those 2, and I'll be falling back on Lockie Neal. There's no one else. Yeah, I'm
The only
pretty confident.
concern I had with Bont, I didn't watch enough of the game, but only 46% CBAs against Port. Now, was it because the game was just out of reach from the start? I
That's
just
yeah.
didn't watch the game enough to figure that out. But if you boys had anything to
106 though, 106 or 40 odd percent.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good effort. So you bump
he
those
doesn't
numbers
have
up,
the
so-
best record against Carlton. That's all I'll say is he's gone 112, 105, 155, but that was 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
So really, in the last 2 years, 112, 105 against us. We're pretty restrictive midfield.
Yeah, I'll probably
Um,
give him a miss this week.
It's tough. He could go big. I wouldn't doubt the great man.
Yeah, look, for me, I think I'll keep it pretty simple and either it will involve 3 players to me. That's probably Dacos, Zeret, and Lockie Neal.
Yeah.
I think they're probably the
Janath,
3 blokes I'll use my loop from.
Does anyone go to Merritt? Like, I know they
Neil Bullen, but he hasn't been tagged, and he was a very Dacos specific tag. So that's the only concern. But we've been concerned with Merritt plenty of weeks, and he's fought through the tags pretty well, except in that Geelong game, which it felt like a mulligan for him, getting that Tom Atkins attention. He just did nothing in the second half.
Yeah.
Went to sleep. But yeah, this
pretty
is a
much.
big game. Melbourne, no Gawn.
I can't wait.
This could be a massive. Honestly, the more and more I think about it, sack Merritt against a Gawn, Petrarca-less Melbourne midfield.
Oh, and
let's
look,
all
and
VC. Let's all
Oliver-less midfield as well. Like Oliver's not even. We can't even call him Clayton Oliver anymore. It's like Oliver Wish version at the moment. So no Gawn, no Petrarca, Wish Oliver. Come on, like if we're talking about the superstars of the competition being Neil Bullen, give us a break. Jack Viney, lots of credit to him. He's a star, but yeah, I don't mind Zeret. It'd be hard to go past it.
Let's all do a swordplay pact. Let's all VC Merritt
the pack.
We did that.
Brotherhood.
We did. Who did we do? We did that with Dane Zorko a couple of weeks ago, and he wasn't 120 at halftime, and he only got to 140. So let's back it in again.
Yeah,
let's do it.
All right, Zeret.
We're all VC Merritt, and then it'll be like maybe Janath goes for Dunkley, and then we go for Neil.
Hey! Spills, don't put some bad juju over this role. We're VC Merritt. Let's hope we can just keep it at that, okay, boys?
Okay.
As Diaz got in the background, Hakuna Matata.
Means no worries. That's right.
Means no worries.
For the rest of your days, isn't it? There we go.
The rest of your days, that's it. You got it.
Think we're done it, boys. That is it for the week. And, final words, good luck is all I'll have to say. Good luck. There are some landmines this week. If you've somehow managed to avoid all of this, then bugger you for a start. And I think it's impossible. I think you're lying, and I wouldn't believe you unless I saw a screenshot of your side, because surely you're affected in some way, shape, or form by all this carnage. You went through the numbers before. Spills is looking at 2. I'm looking at 3. And our poor old brother, who is top of the pod at the moment, top 350, is facing 5 pieces of carnage this week. But I'll tell you what, good coaches will get through it. I guarantee you that. We may need a little bit of luck on our side, but I'll tell you what, through adversity, we'll get there, boys. We'll get through it.
You know what they say, DR? They say diamonds are made under pressure.
Oh, so this is what we need to end. Diamonds are made under pressure. And let me tell you, Janath will find some diamonds in the rough for us over this next rest of the season as well. So,
let's hope so.
Very, very nice way to end there, mate. Spilsy, good to chat with you, mate. All the best with your football. All the best with the Bombers. And
appreciate it, mate.
We got something very special on next week, so stay tuned. We got
huge
appreciation podcast. Get around it. If you haven't got your Swordplay beanie yet, go to the website supercoachswordplay.com. Get your beanie, rep it out whilst you watch some of the legends off the community as well. We're looking forward to it. We'll leave it there, boys. Been an absolute banger off an episode. And hopefully everyone's weeks can go as good as you hope, with as fewer players, good players, as you currently have. So good luck. All the best. We'll see you all next week.
Cheers boys.
Tough.